What's up, everybody? Welcome back into Frontier League Sports Live. I'm your host, Dylan Funk. We had a lot of action going on last week across the Frontier League and across our Varsity Sports Live networks, including a Wildcat win on the road at Paola in our Week 2 Frontier League Sports Live football game of the week. And before we preview the Week 3 matchups, let's step back and recap all the action that you may have missed last week. We start over on Paola Sports Live, where the Chieftains and the Panthers had an early season classic on the volleyball court. Chieftains took the first two sets before the Panthers stormed from behind and took the next two, forcing a decisive fifth set. The Chieftains got an ace right there to take it 3-2 and would remain perfect in regular season play. That same night over on Spring Hill Sports Live, the Chieftains soccer team played the Broncos on the pitch. Rainforth for the Broncos scored 2 goals in the shutout effort for Spring Hill, 4-0. We then saw the Chieftains right back out there on Thursday night over on Tonganoxie Sports Live when they hosted the Eudora Cardinals. Eudora would take it 2-0 with both goals coming in the first half. Over to the action on Friday night on Baldwin Sports Live. The Bulldogs got the scoring started thanks to a nice run after the catch by Ryder Nye to set up the Alford score a few plays later. However, the Cyclones would answer with 42 unanswered points as they go on to win their second straight game of the season to keep pace with Lewisburg and Spring Hill atop of the league standings. The Eudora Cardinals bounced back at a big home win against Bonner Springs 54-8, thanks in part to this pick six by Braden Van Dong and the rushing offense led by underclassmen Grayson Moody and Kaylin Duncan. The Cards will now take on Spring Hill coming up in this week's Game of the Week matchup. Speaking of the Broncos, they were in a defensive battle with the Tonganoxie Chieftains. A late fourth quarter touchdown run by Patrick Stump would put the Broncos in front 18-14. Defense would get the stop thanks to this tip drill interception by Lucas Golston and would run the clock out to win the game. Tonganoxie, off the sub-state championship appearance a year ago, dropped to 0-2 on the season. And lastly, in our Week 2 game of the week, it was all Wildcats against the rivals, the Paola Panthers. The Wildcats win their 17th straight game against the league opponent under head coach Drew Harding and remain perfect in 2024. Final score, Wildcats 34, Panthers 13. In our Week 3 Game of the Week matchup, we're going to see the Eudora Cardinals take on the Spring Hill Broncos. Both these teams played a classic a year ago at Eudora, where the Broncos won it 31-28. Coming off the big win at home against Bonner Springs, head coach Drew Steffen has all the confidence in his team as they prepare for their first road test in 2024. After losing a core group of senior production last year, the Cardinals have rebuilt with new and familiar faces as they look to win their first ever Frontier League title this season. And a big step of that is going to come this Friday night on the road when they take on the Broncos. All right, we're now joined here by head coach of Eudora Cardinals, Drew Steffen. Coach, thank you for the time today. How are we doing?
Good. Yeah. I appreciate you guys doing this. And we're excited to get after Friday night at Spring Hill.
Happy to be doing it and happy you can take the time with us, Coach. Thank you again. Real quick, just a couple of quick questions about the team in general. You had recently mentioned that you've had more fun coaching this team than you have ever had before in years past as as the head coach. What is it about this team that has you so excited and having fun week in and week out?
I think the thing with this group is they're just so young. If you look at our two deep, Coach Feedback has that already. We're starting a freshman at left tackle. We're starting a sophomore left guard. We have a quarterback that has been in our system but hasn't started. We had a sophomore and a freshman as our fullback position. And so just these extremely young kids and just the way they listen and take coaching, seniors in the past haven't taken coaching and done all the things that we've asked of them. It's just, for me, it's been a while since I've coached the younger kids. And that's just kind of how this team is. The progress they make every single day and understanding that the way we coach the older kids has to be different with the younger kids because they just don't know sometimes. Like, they just haven't done it. And so, I think that is probably the thing that I've enjoyed. Like I said, I love, we've had some awesome kids here, some awesome teams, but just being a young team, it's just, I can just tell a difference with the way they're trying to learn and do as good as they possibly can each day.
And that's got to be a really encouraging sight too, especially with the large group of underclassmen, which leads us right into our next question. Eudora, just like a lot of teams in the Frontier League, lost a big core of senior players last year, now relying on a lot of underclassmen to step up this year. Uh, just a couple of weeks into the season, how has that looked for you? What have you been seeing out there, and who maybe have you been the most impressed by?
Yeah, so like I said, we're starting we started freshmen and sophomore on our O line. The rest of them are juniors. From a standpoint of offense, I think those guys up front are slowly learning the effort and the physicality you have to play with on every snap. I'm in our league, and so you could see at game one, Hayden's really really good. They're a really good football team, and so just you could see the difference between week one and week two with our physicality up front, and then that was a big reason that we were able to kind of jump on Bonner Springs in that second quarter and kind of control that one through. And so on the offensive side of the ball, those guys up front have really impressed me. But defensively, we have a freshman that plays a little corner for us. We have sophomore outside linebacker, sophomore inside linebacker, and so those kids, Newt Schreiner, Elijah Klobes, on defensively have really locked in and then are owning those positions. And then, like I said, on that offensive side of the ball, Grayson Moody stepped up. And then without having Errol, then you have to have another fullback kind of step up, and freshman Keelan Duncan stepped up and did a good job with us or for us.
Yeah, you were just talking about that dynamic duo in the backfield, filling in with the absence of Errol Seaman. I want to talk about him real quick before we move on. He's been a key piece, not just to the football team. I feel like for Eudora athletics, it feels like
Correct.
for the past 3-4 years, he has just
Yeah.
been an awesome guy and an awesome player, no matter what sport he's playing. Even as he continues, he's battled injuries last year. He's at it again early this year. Even if he's not available to play right now, how important is it to still have his leadership around the team and continue to drive this team toward success?
Yeah, he really he's owned that fullback spot for 4 years essentially. Bierbauer kind of did it as when Errol was a freshman, and then it was Octavius, Errol sophomore year, and then Errol the last 2 years has been that guy, but he's always had carries in that spot. And so for me, I coach fullbacks to have him at practice every day coaching the fullbacks because he's done it. I mean, he's done it more than I've ever done in my life, and so to have him and have that voice is just something obviously you miss on the field, but having it at practice, having him around that, having him coach those guys up only puts more confidence in those kids, which then as a coaching staff, you're just like, okay, they're gonna go do it because they're getting the coaching from us, but they're also probably more importantly getting the coaching from Errol, from a peer.
Just like a true senior leader should be
Yeah,
doing. Awesome to
absolutely.
hear.
Yep.
Another one in that group of senior, I believe there's 7 of them on the team this year. Braden Van Dong, he's had a terrific start to his senior campaign this year, including collecting the pick six on Friday and that win against Bonner Springs. What are your thoughts on his performance so far on offense and defense, and what are your expectations for him moving forward?
Yeah, so he's one that started as a sophomore my first year as the head coach. Started at left tackle for us, which our tackles aren't your typical spread tackles. Quick guys that would be a release and trying to get on the edge and do those things, get to linebackers. And so he was basically just a good athlete that we needed to have on the field as a sophomore. And so we got on that field as a sophomore. As a junior, we had him at tight end, played a lot of defensive end, was a really, really good defensive end. And then we kind of got banged up and we needed to make sure we moved the football. So we moved him back to tackle the last couple of games of the year. And so as he's grown, got mature, got stronger, his athletic abilities increased. And so we he blocks good in space. So let's use him at slot. Then let's use him at linebacker. And he's very dynamic. He can play coverage. He can play at linebacker depth. He can play up on the ball. And so having a kid like that on defense is huge. It allows us to be creative with our game plan and try to stop our football like last week, or we're seeing more of a zone spread stuff that Coach Febeck does at Spring Hill.
Yeah, so a little bit more about that game this past Friday. Big game at home. It was a big win against Bonner Springs, 54-8. Moved to 1-1 on the season. we already mentioned with Errol not being in the backfield, it was a lot of Kalen Duncan, the freshman, and the sophomore Grayson Moody, those two combining for 5 touchdowns, 3 for Moody and 2 for Duncan, in a rush heavy offense, like we've already kind of alluded to. How impressed were you by that 1-2 combo? And what are your expectations for that, for those two moving forward with it? What it looks like right now, Errol's seeming going to be sidelined for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we'll probably get him back here at some point. But those two, I think Errol's running style is more the downhill bruiser, which is great for us. What Grayson and Keelan have is kind of a little more that wiggle, that little more of that little cut. Try to make that second defender miss in space. They're strong, both strong kids in the weight room. You can't play that spot, one, if you're not smart, two, if you're not fast, and three, if you got to be really strong in the weight room. And both kids are, in my opinion, probably, I mean, I know they are more mature in terms of the weight room strength than the peers as freshmen and sophomore. And so, sprinkling those two in and out, making sure we're taking care of their bodies, making sure we're splitting them carries, to keep them healthy and running at full speed is huge for us. But from a standpoint of really their first carries, first varsity touchdowns, I was pretty impressed with what they did, and I think that's credit to Coach Tharp, our offensive coordinator, and obviously the offensive line. But I was impressed with those two guys.
Yeah, it sounds like Coach Russell's been getting them going in the weight room. It sounds like too. So that's awesome to hear about that. Staying in that backfield, we already mentioned senior quarterback Connor Watson, first time starting. We've seen him, I think, get more and more comfortable passing the ball,
Yeah.
especially when he's targeting CJ, Kristen Jarrett. Those two seem to be a dynamic 1-2 punch. Really had a great game against Bonner. How more explosive could that connection be in your eyes as the season goes on?
I think as they just continue to build that confidence, not only in games but in practice. Obviously you do all your summer 7-on-7 stuff and your padded camp stuff, and just continuing to build that trust. The first game, it's probably one of those that we kind of got down big, and we're probably should have threw it a little bit more. We obviously were able to run the football really, really well. So it's one of those is how much pass game stuff do you want to show when you're able to kind of do the stuff you're doing. But we started that second half getting CJ a ball on a route. We threw a jump kind of down toward the end zone, and so if he can just go consistently make those plays, if he can bring those corners down into the box so that we can throw the stretch, or if we can back those corners off, not only helps us in just our quick game stuff, but also in our outside run game, and just doing that stuff. So that's, we've been blessed here with Cole Manley and Adrian Seals the last couple of years, big time players that made some big time plays. And so if we can just find ways to get Connor and CJ to make some of those plays, it'd be huge for us.
So the big win this past Friday, 1-1 in a year for you guys. Now you go on the road, first road game of the season. It's a big one at Spring Hill. It's our Frontier League Sports Live and Varsity Sports Live game of the week. Having some time to look over the tape with Spring Hill, what catches your eye the most about them? Maybe a couple of players here and there, and what adjustments do you think your team needs to make the most before Friday night?
Yeah, I think just looking at their offense, 9, he jumps off the page. The Torres kid, he's a good looking athlete. He runs the ball well in the jet sweep flat. They use him kind of as a slot receiver, as a running back at times, and so he's a really good football player. 85, he's somebody that can change the pass game as that kind of that X receiver, out in space, loves the stretch ball, is a good route runner. Quarterback looks for him quite a bit. And then, I think the running back by committee, I think Stump, I'm not saying if I'm sure I said that correctly, but he's the starter on paper. But I feel like both those kids do a good job in their zone scheme, running downhill. One thing that impressed me was they won that game against Tongi, running a lot of that ISO stuff from the gun. And so, I think that Spring Hill's always going to have athletes. They're big school. Coach Feebeck does a great job. He's one of my favorite guys to be around. Love talking to him, not only in football, but around him. And so, offensively, I feel like, they're pretty dynamic. Defensively, I know that they're, like everybody, having to replace some guys that were big time starters, but 46 inside linebacker, he's a really, really good football player. He comes and fits. And then, that freshman corner's done a good job in coverage. And so, I'm a defensive guy, so I don't watch as much of the other team's defense. But those are some guys that I know that our coaching staff's talked about and jump off the page. But good football players, just good football team overall.
Yeah, 2-0 on the year. They came down looking to win the league title. They took it all the way to the final game last
Yep.
year against Lewisburg, who has won back-to-back league titles. So it should be a great game on the road at Spring Hill. Again, the game can be viewed on Varsity Sports Live YouTube channel. It'll be pregame coverage starting at 6:30, kickoff at 7. Again, Coach Drew Steffen of the Eudora Cardinals taking time with us. Coach, thank you for the time. Best of luck on Friday, and we'll talk to you later down the road.
Thank you. I appreciate all the coverage.
Behind 10th year head coach Jason Feedback, the Spring Hill Broncos are off to a great start in 2024 after opening up the new year with back-to-back road wins against league opponents. The front six on defense stifled the Chieftains' running game and forced 2 of the 3 Tonganoxie turnovers this past Friday night. With a defense that is humming and the offense that is leaning on the running game behind senior running back Patrick Stump, this Bronco team returns to the Shack for the first time in 2024 to host the Eudora Cardinals. We're now joined by head coach of the Spring Hill Broncos, Coach Jason Feedback. Coach, thank you for the time today. How we doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you on. We talked to Coach Steffen earlier, and I'm getting a chance to talk to you. It's great that you both are taking time to help us out here and get the show off and running. So there's a lot I want to dive into, and we'll start with this. It's no secret. There's been a lot of turnover this year for the Broncos. You guys had a lot of key pieces last year that moved on and have graduated, especially on the offensive side of the ball. No Tyson B. Shore, no Colton McKenna, no Cooper D. Albini, new faces all across the offensive line. Just kind of walk me through a little bit what it was like throughout this summer and summer workouts and the training and what it was like to rebuild this offense to get ready to compete in a deep and talented conference like the Frontier League.
It starts with the kids just putting in the effort and showing up and working hard and coaches meeting with them and all that. And it's just a process. If you've coached long enough, you know how it is, and you're always getting the next guy ready. You're trying to, and sometimes it takes a little bit of under the lights and live action and all that to get things rolling. But our kids had a really good summer. We were able to go out and compete against a lot of different teams. Went to a few camps. Did 7-on-7. So our guys put in the time. And I think that's what our coaches do the same thing, obviously. But I think that's part of it. You just try to find out what your guys are good at and, do whatever you do best, do the most. So right now we're still working out what do we do best? What's our fastball? What's our curveball and all that stuff, if you want to use baseball terms. But right now we're still trying to find our fastball, but we're developing kids. And the good thing is we got a lot of positive attitude kids that keep showing up and working. And I do think they really care about our program and they care about each other. And that's a lot of fun to coach.
Well, I think one of the things you could cross off that list of things you guys are doing well so far, it's winning on the road, especially in league play, because that's exactly what you've done. Back-to-back road wins in league play this year at Bonner Springs in week 1 and then at Tonganoxie this past Friday. What have you learned the most from your team after this start that you guys have had and expectations going forward?
I started meeting with our seniors in January, and I just really wanted to empower our kids. And I think the thing with this group of seniors is our first question that we asked our guys was, what's really important to you about this season, and what do you want to be known for? And the answer that stuck out to me was, I just want validation, and they want people to believe in them. And I think this group, they're a good group, and they're fun and they're squirrely. But I tell you what, they've come a long way, and I'm really proud of these guys and the way they are learning to lead has been really fun to be a part of and fun to coach. So I'm enjoying that piece of it. Tonganoxie scored with no time on the clock in the first half, and our heads are down a little bit. And it was good to have that football adversity. Some of our guys have been through like life's hit them pretty hard. Some of our guys have been through some stuff. But football adversity, I think you see a lot about your team when it really is tough. And everybody's all about it when it's going good. And when it gets tough, then you kind of find out where your soul is. And so I thought our guys showed a lot of soul. I was really proud of that. That was a great character win for us. Tonganoxie's always tough. It's always a tough place for us to play. and they're a great team. And for our guys to hold together and keep believing, I thought our defensive coaches did a great job with the game plan and getting after it. And offense pulled it together at the end and was just able to punch that in and get it going. So we overcame some adversity on the field. Some of it self-inflicted. Some of it was just the other team's pretty dang good too, and those guys get paid to score.
Yeah, I mean, that was just leading right into my next question because and I said it on our broadcast too, because that game was played on Friday the 13th. And I felt like that whole sequence right before halftime, like that was just Friday the 13th capsulated in high school football, right? I mean, you get it's some quick punts. I think within 2 minutes before halftime, you guys have, I think it's 17 seconds. The interception happens, and then 2 plays later, Tongi scores with the no time on the clock. So yeah, 14-3, you're going into the locker room. I'm just curious if you can kind of bring us in there, if you can, with the team, like you already mentioned. Maybe heads were a little bit down. What was the message to them at halftime? Because you guys definitely came out in the second half, and they seemed like they were fired up, and they ended up getting it done. So you can go verbatim or whatever, but just kind of what was that message you gave to the team at halftime?
I talked to our guys about, when it's going good, everybody's on it. Everybody's all about it. And when it's hard, people start questioning and maybe they start looking around and wondering if I'm really all about it. And I will say this, our coaches, we kind of split our groups up, and my assistant coaches were talking to their groups, all defense and offense met. But what I really heard a lot of was our seniors. I really heard our seniors stepping up and really finding their voice. And obviously it's really nice to be 2-0, but our goal wasn't to go to Tonganoxie and win. It's 1-0 every week, but we know we're trying to build up to be the best we can absolutely be in November, and to continue to grow and make those gains. So all in all, it's really nice to see our seniors step up and our guys finding their voice in the locker room, and that was really encouraging and really cool to see. Offense was struggling a little bit, and our defense just kept saying, "We got you, we got you," and they just made a decision that second half and continued to play great football. And I just thought we played really physical and really hard.
Yeah, I think from 2023 to 2024, like I said, a lot of guys have really stepped up. And one of the seniors I want to talk about a little bit, Patrick Stump, the senior running back. Everybody knows it's impossible to replace a Colton McKenna from a year ago. First team all league running back, had I think just about 2,000 all purpose yards, close to 30 touchdowns, one of the best backs, not just in the Frontier League in 5A, but the entire state. It's clear now this is Patrick's time as the lead back. You also have Jackson Torres getting in there in the mix, but Patrick, big part of that second half comeback, over 100 yards rushing on the ground, and he had that final touchdown to put you guys up 18-14. How impressed have you been with the jump that he has made from a year ago and how he has stepped up to be one of the leaders, not only on offense but this team?
I've been really impressed. I'm really proud. We call him Patty Ice around here, because he's at games when he was our number 2 running back. But he's really stepped into that role, and he's a quiet guy. He doesn't do a lot of talking. He's just kind of a blue collar guy. He shows up and puts his work. Well, he takes his work boots off and puts his cleats on, and then he just does the best he can. But no, I've been really impressed with him, and last year he was our lead blocker. He was our fullback, B back kind of guy, and so he kind of learned the ropes there. And then now he's been getting the majority of the carries, and he's doing the best he can with that, and it's doing pretty good.
I know, staying in that backfield, there was a lot of excitement to see junior quarterback Jordan Miller be handed the reins on offense this year through 2 games. What has been your assessment of how he has performed, and what are your expectations for him moving forward?
I think the sky's the limit for Jordan Miller. He's a coachable kid. He's a competitor. He's fiery. He's maybe a little bit too much Brett Favre in him. We're going to see the good part of that later on. But no, he owns it. He started the state championship game in baseball, and so he's used to those big moments. And yeah, he to me, watching and talking to him, he doesn't really get phased, and if he does, he won't admit it. But he just keeps going and going. So yeah, we're going to do a few different things this week and continue, working in a new quarterback and in a first year starter. You're always, what's he best at? How can we make sure he's comfortable? How can we utilize his talents? And so, that's where we're at right now, heading into week 3.
And I would be remiss if we did not give this Bronco defense a little bit of love. As the saying goes, defense wins you championships. And so far, I think this defense could help win you guys some this year. 2 weeks into the season, only allowing 14 points. You shut out Bonner. And I think what was really most impressive is you guys came on the road at Tonganoxie and you stonewalled a rush heavy offense and a notoriously very successful rushing offense in Tonganoxie. I mean, Tanner Hand and Talon Langford Company just had no room to really run the ball. And of course, it was the defense. You guys forced 2 of the 3 Tonganoxie turnovers, that other one coming off that muff punt on special teams. We give some love to them as well. And then, of course, the game sealing interception at the end on the tip drill. I believe it was Lucas Golston, number 4, that ended up being the one to bring that one in. And then you guys iced it from there. That side of the ball has returned the most experience from a year ago, including senior Bo Garner there in the middle, who earned second team All League honors a year ago. What are your thoughts on this defensive unit thus far and your expectations for them as the season keeps going on and you guys are going to be playing some really stout defense or stout offenses coming up later on in league play?
It's just continue to get better. We talked yesterday at our meeting and about making sure that we continue to grow. Offenses are going to continue to get better, and we have to, as a defense, continue to take those steps. And so you go from, Tonganoxie last week that they'll sling it, they'll throw it around. They want to go fast. They run the ball really well. They have great scheme. And now you got Eudora, who's triple option. You got to be really assignment sound. They're good getting 3 yards of carry and getting to, 3rd and 4 and converting that. And so making sure that we can get those stops. So it's all about progress. I mean, you're dealing with high school kids and, they're not NFL ready or anything like that. So continue to build those good habits, continue to work on fundamentals every single day. Coach Jennings came from Pitt State. He's brought us a couple of things. We do a takeaway circuit every day. We do a tackle circuit every day. And that's really starting to show up. So to be able to show them on film what they do. And Coach Vaughn, he's running our defense, and it's his first year doing this, and he's putting in the work, and he's getting our guys lined up, and he's doing a great job with that. So it's been really cool to see that whole process from starting in, January on installs and how we're going to do this and getting playbooks ready, and then how we're going to coach kids, and then throughout the summer. So it's really fun. There's still more stuff to come with our defense. Right now, we feel like we're just still in the initial install, but we've got, we're bringing back 8 guys that started multiple games last year. And so with that, you got a pretty good group on the D line. That's been a strength of ours. Our secondary, we're starting a freshman, and then we're starting a sophomore at our one D line position. So we've got some seniors that have been waiting. We've had some seniors that have really put in some work and been able to play on Fridays. So it's a really good mix, but I think the thing they do really well is just they play really hard, and so that's been fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch coming up this Friday night. Again, you guys are back at the Shack for the first time in 2024 as you'll host the Cardinals. It's our Frontier League Sports Live game of the week. You've had some time to look at the tape. Last week, they're coming off that huge win at home against Bonner Springs, 54-8, after they dropped the week 1 matchup against Topeka Hayden, another great team. Who are some standouts on their team that really catch your eye, and then how do you think your team matches up with them?
Their fullbacks really hit that hole hard, and their O-line do a great job of getting off the football. Quarterback's dangerous. He can scoot. He's got some wheels there. With them, if you overplay anything, they're going to take advantage of it. Coach Stephan does a great job there. He'll have his guys ready to play. Defensively, they're going to blitz. They're going to play some games. But they play really hard, and they always have really good athletes, and those kids play their hearts out. So last year was a slugfest. We're expecting the same thing this year.
Yep, should be a good one again. Back at the Shack, first home game for you guys here. Real quick before we sign off, just one final message to the Spring Hill fans that are hoping to come out to the game on Friday night.
I'd say get out here, get loud. It's a pasture of pain. It's going to be youth football night. Should be a lot of fun. Our kids are excited to finally be at home and get our season started off at the Shack.
Looking forward to it, Coach. Again, thank you for the time. Head coach Jason Feedback, the Spring Hill Broncos looking to move to 3-0 on the year as they'll host the Eudora Cardinals, our Frontier League Sports Live game of the week. You can watch it on YouTube at Varsity Sports Live and the Spring Hill Sports Live YouTube channels, and of course on our website, varsitysportslive.com. Coach, I'm sure we'll talk later on again down the road. Thank you for the time today, and best of luck on Friday.
I appreciate the opportunity. Go Broncos.
Should be a great matchup in Spring Hill this Friday night between the Cardinals and the Broncos. You can check out our Frontier League Sports Live Game of the Week on YouTube, on the Spring Hill Sports Live channel, and the Varsity Sports Live channel, and as always, over on varsitysportslive.com. Now let's take a look at the rest of the matchups that we have happening across the Varsity Sports Live networks coming up here in Week 3. We got action this week starting on Tuesday, September 17th. Some volleyball going on. Spring Hill at Eudora and Bonner Springs at Lewisburg. Both of those volleyball matchups can be viewed over on the Varsity Sports Live YouTube page. And then boys soccer, the Baldwin Bulldogs taking on the Paola Panthers. That one can be viewed on Paola Sports Live over on YouTube. And then on Thursday, September 19th, our sole matchup, boys soccer again, the Lewisburg Wildcats taking on the Eudora Cardinals. Again, that one can be viewed over on Varsity Sports Live on YouTube. And then the action coming up this Friday night, the Baldwin Bulldogs back at home as they host the Burlington Wildcats. The Lewisburg Wildcats return home as they'll take on the Clay Center Tigers. The Panthers back at home as well as they will host the Ottawa Cyclones. And the Tonganoxie Chieftains, coming out of league play, will take on the Lansing Lions up in Leavenworth. And then our game of the week there at the bottom, Eudora at Spring Hill. That game can be viewed on Spring Hill Sports Live and Varsity Sports Live. And be sure to follow us on social media platforms at Varsity Sports Live, and check out our website if you haven't already, varsitysportslive.com. You can see all of our upcoming broadcasts across all of our channels on the Varsity Sports Live network. And you can also catch our weekly episodes of Frontier League Sports Live there as well. And also right here on the Varsity Sports Live YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't already and turn on that notification bell so you never miss an update and you never miss an episode of Frontier League Sports Live. We'll be back again next week. Thank you all for watching. I'm Dylan Funk saying so long, and we'll see you next time right here on Frontier League Sports Live.